In this video, we're going to talk about how different people have very different interests and how important it is for those interests to develop and grow over time. When I'm looking at like what's out there already, I find all of these books and podcasts and things that are like, this is the new like book on raising kids. And it has all of like, this is what you need to do. But like every kid is so different. So, what was it like for you raising three boys that are all so very different and getting to know us?
I think one thing for me that I always appreciated so much was your dad because, some dads are real, oh, everybody's sports or everybody's this thing or everything. And I just remember being so thankful that your dad, you know, when you guys got to choose what to do, oh, he took one to the symphony. He took one to the Mariners game. He took one for a motorcycle ride. So I really appreciate your dad for that. Not like, oh, if you don't want to do sports, you don't have to. If you want to do music, that's fine. Or I, I remember when you and one of your brothers were taking the safety gun course and you're going hunting. And then one of your other brothers was like, well, I see no reason to murder undomesticated animals. Like, oh, okay, that's fine. You don't have to go. And so, I thought, what a good sport, your dad. So I really appreciate that. As far as me, I, you guys were so different that I just learned at an early age, especially as you were teenagers, sometimes you just got to go with the flow. I had one that was my clone, was a total neatnik. Nothing was ever out of place in his room. You know, if company was coming over, he would, help me clean in the kitchen and say, oh, I'm going to miss my brother when he goes to college, but I'm not going to miss his messes because we'd be cleaning up for his friends to come over. He didn't even notice. And yeah, then I had two boys, not mentioning names, that was not an importance for them. And it was so bad that when Doug and one of his brothers for a while shared a room, I would have to go in and clean up Doug's side so his other poor brother didn't have to. Is that true, Doug?
Yeah, that's true. We were all very much allowed to pursue our own interests. And because I remember those families, I remember those kids, because when I was wrestled, I remember there would be people on the wrestling team that you're like, all of the brothers in this family, they all wrestle and their parents wrestled. And I remember one kid in particular that didn't like wrestling at all, but he was on the wrestling team because their family wrestled. That's what they did. The brothers wrestled, but like he didn't like it. He didn't want to be a wrestler. Um, and I do appreciate that none of us were really forced to do anything. I liked to try lots of things. I did music and wrestling and soccer and track and theater and choir and band. Like I was able to try a whole lot of things and then decide what I liked and decide what I wanted to do. But I feel like we kind of really developed our individual personalities pretty early. I think even looking at my son, looking at Finley, he's about to be 6. And we definitely can see a lot of like what's happening with his personality starting to develop really who he's going to be, like the things that he seems to be interested in, the things that he doesn't seem to much care about. I think we're seeing some of that now. And even like what some of his fears are now, and thinking about like, well, what are those fears that he's exhibiting as a 6-year-old going to turn into as he gets a little bit older? I think I liked art. I didn't decide to go into art as a career until I was in college. But I mean, when I was real little, I was always doing art projects, cutting paper, taping things. While my brothers, I had one brother, one of his first big gifts he wanted was a calculator, which is not standard childhood toy. And then the other brother that just wanted to play with footballs and baseballs and basketballs. Like that was when we were really young. But I remember you put up with a lot of messes that I made, a lot of art projects. And one thing that I think really helped me develop into the artist that I am now is that I was allowed to just explore and create whatever I wanted. That like we had the pantry and had like a whole section that was just paper and tape and pencils and just whatever craft supplies. And I would get them out every single day, make a big mess, and sometimes I would put it away, maybe.
Sometimes well, no, it wasn't just me, it wasn't just me. Every week when you brought a new craft book home, your brothers would be like, oh, because we knew we'd be cleaning it up. So, I don't know, maybe I should have been stricter, but I don't know. It just and when you say tape, like, I wonder how many kids this Easter will get Scotch tape in their Easter basket. Doug always he could make amazing little animals and stuff out of paper and used my tape. So one year, he must have been like maybe 5 or 6. He got tape in his Easter basket so I could have my own tape. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. And fast forward to now, they actually make tape like that's like child safe tape that doesn't stick to things, that it won't like stay stuck. So Finley has his own tape that and like there's a drawer that has the tape that is Finley's tape and he knows that he uses that tape. But yeah, I was always getting like those how to draw books. Like I was allowed to really explore that creativity at a young age, and something that I find as an art teacher now that I'm like I really wish some of the kids that I teach were able to explore that creative side of themselves when they were younger. And so yes, I should have done more cleaning then. I have since I have since
Well,
learned to I've since learned to clean up
well,
my
that's
messes
one thing.
better.
But as far as you boys being different, you guys were just like born different. Like you said, your older brother at 6 years old wanted a graphing calculator. Like, what? Who would want that? And then we found I was going to spend $200 on it. How would he even know he wanted that? But he found we were at a thrift store and he found one for $5 that didn't work. And we thought, well, I guess we'll get it. And he was so excited because it had the manual with it like that thick. Like, maybe he was 8. No, I think he was like 6. Is excited about a graphing calculator with a manual. And he loved that thing. By the time he was in junior high, his teacher said he could do that better than they could. and then and then his other brother, when he was 2 years old, um, or when he was ready to get potty trained, he was ready to not have diapers because that's not football players do not have diapers. And he wanted to be a baba player. From the time he could talk, he wanted to be a baba player. And I was like, oh, okay. So he spent his whole life outside organizing the kids' outside sports, the whole neighborhood, and he's now a coach and a PE teacher. Go figure.
But as far as I know, Finley might grow up and he might be really into cars. I don't care much about cars, but I would do it with him because if it's what he's interested in, I will do whatever he's interested in. And you guys did that with us. Whether it was your favorite sport or activity or whatever it was, we were allowed to really explore and develop our own individual identities. I feel like a lot of kids grow up feeling like they have to become their parents. And there was never any expectation of us to become you. And you weren't trying to live out some like relive your childhood through us. And that's a very refreshing thing that there wasn't that expectation that we are going to become carbon copies of our parents. In fact, I think we were encouraged to be different encouraged to try things different from one another.
Well, even when, like with piano lessons, you and one of your brothers took piano for years, and but then the sporty one, it would have been like capital punishment to make him sit down and play piano. I don't know. We never, that was never even a thought or possibility. And being such a musical family, I could see that being a real, I don't know, maybe I should have made him take piano lessons, but I just didn't. And then when you wanted to quit piano, it was really hard, but I let you quit. So, yeah.
But I think a lot of boys are really encouraged to do the sports their dads did. Oh, I think there's a lot of dads are like, I was a played football. And it's like, even if they don't expect their kids to play football, you have this idea that, like, for that son to be enough or to live up to their parents' expectation, they need to play football. Or that, like, to earn the pride of their father, for their father to be proud of them, that they needed to do XYZ, whatever it is. Football, baseball, I don't know. And but there's also sometimes there's like you have boys that are like, my dad was great at football and I want to be just like him. So I'm going to do this activity that is what he did. And so it can go both ways, but just having that freedom, kids like to have some freedom. Kids like to have autonomy, and having that freedom to have choice and to be listened to. I think that's a big thing. There are 2 worksheets that go with this video, so after you watch it, there is one worksheet for a parent or guardian who is watching this with a young person, and there's another worksheet for 2 romantic partners that are watching this together. Hopefully, those can foster some good conversation and discussion about your personal interests and how to develop those moving forward.